بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So in this book, The Path to Perfection, we move to the fourth point, which is associating less with people. We've dealt with all the other ones. So now associating less with people, unnecessary association with people should not be increased. That means necessary association is fine, just don't do unnecessary association. Remember that besides Allah, there are three kinds of associations. Praiseworthy association, the Sharia commands, for in itself, it is association with Allah Most High. So if you associate for the sake of Allah, then, for example, you go and associate with people in the masjid for the sake of salat, etc., then ending such association is actually not even permissible. Blameworthy association, though, the Sharia prohibits. Ending such association is compulsory, wajib. Permissible association, this is neither worship nor sin. It is not necessary to end such association. Blameworthy association, yes. So we are saying it is, although permissible, there is need to reduce permissible association. The instruction to discontinue association refers to detestable. The instruction to discontinue association refers to testable and detestable association for sure, and permissible association, but not praiseworthy association. Yet, insofar as blameworthy association is concerned, the discontinuance must be total. Such association is to be completely ended. As for permissible association, meaning is reduction or limiting association, because sometimes you do need to do it. As long as the relationship with the Creator is not well established or grounded, association with the creation is going to be extremely harmful. That means if you start associating with the creation after you've associated with Allah properly, then there won't be any problem because you'll be free of the vulnerabilities of that. And you'll develop a kind of an immunity, I would say. That's what's important. Association with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides an immunity from lots of issues that other people could fall into. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us that immunity. The ostensible reason advanced for association with people, meeting their obligations, can be truly fulfilled only if the relationship with the Creator is firmly grounded. If the relationship with Allah has not been firmly established, then neither is the duty to creation fulfilled, nor the duty to the Creator. This fact has been proven by the experience of thousands of friends of Allah. Now, does that mean that you just stay silent and you just stay quiet and you stay alone? He's saying that solitude is permissible. Staying alone is permissible. In fact, best for the one who has no worldly or religious duty pertaining to himself or others to discharge. Because if you have to go to work, or you have to help somebody, or you have to do something for someone, meet somebody, or do some business thing, then obviously you have to have association with people. That would be permissible association. Such solitude is of the greatest merit during the times of strife and mischief, when it becomes difficult to have patience in the face of anxiety, agitation, confusion, and anarchy. Then definitely is best. The hadith have extolled solitude during such circumstances. That's a praiseworthy time to stay alone, to stay out of sight. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in this regard, it's a lengthy hadith, but then he says, and a man who takes to solitude on the peak of a mountain with his goats, whose rights he fulfills and he worships Allah. He gets his little milk from them, and if he wants, he can have some meat, and there's firewood there and everything, all the rest of it. So he's trying to say that because otherwise when you're in town, you still have to go out. In another hadith, it is said that soon a time will dawn when the best form of wealth for a Muslim will be goats. He will go with them to a peak of a mountain and to places where rainwater accumulates. He will flee from mischief, taking his religion with him. Sahih al-Bukhari. Solitude, i.e. total disassociation from people, is actually not permissible for one with duties and obligations to discharge. Oh, I don't want to go out, that's why I'm not going to work, so we're going to suffer. That's why we're going to sign on the welfare, for example, because I don't want to work. Because going out is really, really harmful, right? You're going to have to go out, whether they pertain to others or oneself, and whether, when I say go out, you can do a home-based work. It doesn't have to be. And whether it be for personal obligations, for providing maintenance to one family, when one does not have the ability of tawakkul or religious obligation, that means the acquisition of necessary religious knowledge. You might have to go out for that. Certain hadith that prohibits solitude refers to these two states just mentioned. So such an example of prohibition is the case of our master Uthman ibn Mad'un radiyallahu anhu. He was forbidden from actually adopting solitude since he was still in need of gaining knowledge of the religion. So he wasn't allowed solitude. At the same time, Muslims also were in need of him regarding matters of the religion, especially in the field of propagation and development of Islam. The above explanation pertains to solitude that is permanently adopted, which means it's not permissible to be in permanent solitude because Allah did not create us like that. Allah did not create us for being alone. Sunnah to marry, sunnah to have children, sunnah to be with others in many cases. To go and pray in the masjid is not solitude, is it? Praying alone at home is solitude. For the woman, it's easy for that. That's why it's only when you want to do it permanently that goes against the very nature of the Sharia and the Sharia as well. That's what he's saying. That's what he refers to. However, he says temporary solitude for a few days, like in i'tikaf, or otherwise, is necessary for the beginner in many cases. Because you get time to think and really connect and be not distracted. The benefits of solitude, now he's saying. Among the numerous benefits of solitude is the abstention from sin, provided that in solitude, control is exercised of the eyes. Now that becomes, solitude has to be from the phone in many cases. The ears as well, as the heart, have to be guarded in solitude. The thought of anyone besides Allah Most High should not be deliberately be brought to mind. In the event of any such stray thought entering the mind, so when you're sitting in solitude, the purpose of it is to focus on Allah and get the most out of it. So then he says, if any other thoughts comes, the person in solitude should immediately ward off the thought by engaging in remembrance of Allah. In such well-guarded solitude, there is indeed great protection against sin. It is quite manifest that prevention against evil has priority over the acquisition of some gain. Hence, solitude has priority over association in this context. Although associating with others has many benefits, many sins follow in its wake, nevertheless. You just have to be careful. Furthermore, reducing conversation is difficult in association. Only the Siddiqeen and spiritual masters are able to exercise perfect control over their tongues as well as other emotions, even in association with others. In most cases, useless and nonsensical discussion take place when one associates with others. The hearts of those who have no solitude in their time become progressively stripped of spiritual effulgences. So I think in a modern sense today, the way we can attain solitude is to, for men and women, number one is to do some i'tikaf in Ramadan. So 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, and so on. That would really help. I'tikaf is actually legislated in Ramadan. And one of the benefits that the same author tells us about, Malatani, is that the purpose in i'tikaf is not to totally be in full solitude, which means be alone and pray alone. Because when you're doing i'tikaf in a masjid, you're still in jama'at with others. You're still in jama'at and you're praying with others, and you might even have a little discussion with others. You might have a little dars or something. So it's actually taqleel and restriction to the mu'mineen. So what you do in a masjid is that you're not going to have non-Muslims there. So number one, you're reducing your interaction with others, especially with non-Muslims. And even the Muslims you're interacting with are mu'mineen, because anybody that comes into the masjid is a mu'min. Prophet said, bear witness that he's a believer. So that's amazing. That's a very special case for the masjid. And for women, they can do it within their house. Now, solitude, even beyond the i'tikaf, solitude, i'tikaf is the best way to do it. So men and women, you don't want to have to sit in a 24-hour etikaf or something. Then you can just go and retreat somewhere. It doesn't have to be in a masjid. You can just stay in your house for the day. If you're a person who usually likes to go out all the time and speak and meet with people, just stay in your house and do it. Do a semi-i'tikaf in the sense that you just stay away, don't watch anything, don't do anything, just stay and just remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Doesn't always have to be in a masjid because that just makes it that much more complicated. So you can just have some khalwa time in your own house. Men and women, you can have it in your own house. You could just have some khalwa time at work where in your lunch break or something, okay, I'm just going to go into that meditation room if they have one, or in your own room and say, okay, no disturbance, and just sit for a while. Solitude at any time is good because what it does is that it helps to ground us. It helps us to think. It helps us to reconsider, and it helps us to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala away from all of the attractions of the world. And you can actually come back much more fresh and reinvigorated and with more spirituality as well. So it doesn't always have to, that etikaf is only in the masjid, but it doesn't, solitude doesn't, this is not etikaf, this is saying uzla. Uzla is a different idea, which means wahdaniyah, to be alone essentially, and not just be with other people, unless that's why Maulana Ilyas, after big ijtimas, he would actually retreat for a few days, because even though he's meeting with Muslims, mu'mineen, who are in da'wah and everything, there's still some aspect of that which rubs off on you. And he wanted to just get and be grounded in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it seems. So that's why he used to go in as kind of an etikaf for a few days. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the tawfiq to reduce our unnecessary and blameworthy company and harmful company with people as well, and eliminate that actually.
With the Rayan Courses subscription, you'll gain immediate access to over 250 hours of exclusive video lessons taught by experienced scholars. Sign up now at rayancourses.com to continue your journey. Your next lesson is waiting.